Hello, this is Eric Morris Eskenazi. I'm the host of the Iraq Dispatches podcast. Thanks for tuning into this latest episode in which I interview Los Angeles-based Kristen Schalk, who's an actor, choreographer, dancer, and singer. Hello, thanks for listening to the Erratic Dispatches podcast. We'll be back shortly after a brief break. Hello, I've been using Anchor.fm now for about almost a year for the podcast Erratic Dispatches, which is distributed through Anchor.fm. It's completely free to use, very easy, and any audio that you upload or record through the website, it will be you can use it to organize your audio files, and once your podcasts are ready to submit, it will be available to stream within at least 8 different streaming sites. Okay, so Kristen, do you mind just starting off with what inspired you to get into dance? How many years did you do any training? Were there any particular dancers or any styles of dance that really inspired you early on in your career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I started dancing at the age of 7 years old. And it was just through a friend of ours, my friend that I was going to elementary school at the time. Her mom told us about the dance studio. And so it was a competition studio, but I just started out as, basic classes, ballet, jazz, just was doing recital stuff. And they noticed, that I had just a natural gift for it. So they asked my mom to, if she would be willing to put me into the competitive classes. Mm-hmm. And so I went for it and she put me in, and then it was just ever since then, I just never stopped dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're originally from Charlotte, North Carolina?
Yes, Charlotte. Mm-hmm.
And now you're based in Los Angeles.
Yeah. So I've been in LA for the past 4 years now.
Oh, great. So do you have your own dance company, or are you sort of more like a freelancer with your dance work?
Yeah. So I did actually just this past year, I because of the pandemic, a lot of stuff went online, dance, because we couldn't meet at dance studios. So everyone started teaching online lessons, even the big choreographers here in LA. So I really got into that, and then just taking classes for my own sake to keep up with my training. And then during that time, I heard of outschool.com, where you can pretty much anyone can go on there and teach any type of class. It doesn't have to be a dance class. You can teach math classes or anything. But I started teaching on Outschool actually, and I got really, really into it. And I had some my class was pretty much, I had 10 kids in one of my classes. That's I think the max you can do, but so I would fill up these classes with kids, and I was teaching classes on Outschool. And once I got really into that, I was like, you know what, I want to try to make, this into my own thing. So I created my own website. And so now I have that. And I have some clients that I teach weekly through selling my own packages and different things like that, different types of classes on there.
Well, that's great. And then what's the typical age range you teach? And then do you usually teach for gender wise? Is it usually mixed, or does this kind of depends on the type of dance that you're teaching them?
Yeah, I teach pretty much all ages. I can teach adults too. I have probably the youngest I have had so far was probably maybe 6 or 7 years old. But and then the oldest, I've had some parents reach out. It was actually funny because I teach a TikTok tutorial class for teenagers, and a parent he saw that I taught that class on Outschool, and he reached out to me and was curious if I had a class that I could teach to him and his daughter. So kind of like a parent and kid situation. And so I was like, of course I can do that. So I started teaching some lessons to him and his daughter for him to learn some of the TikTok dances with her. And that was really fun. So then I created that as an actual class on my website It's like the parent and kids TikTok class.
Wow. So I guess you have a pretty full schedule during the week, like just teaching different types of dance classes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I also teach, I currently teach at an actual studio.
Hmm.
Um, that I just recently got this job, but it's at a
Great.
studio in Burbank, California. And so I've been starting to train there and assist the teacher, and pretty soon I'll be teaching on my own there too.
That's great. And then like how do you keep up to date with the different, types of like new dance or dance methods that are coming out? Like do you like just kind of study like different music videos that are coming out? Do you like check out different performances, like go to different like clubs and see what, what people are dancing, like the way they're dancing to, different types of music? Or how do you keep up to date with that?
Yeah. So that's where like pretty much since I started dancing, like I think around when I was a teenager, I started going to this studio in Charlotte that was it's it's mainly for like dancers who really want to be in the entertainment industry and like dance for commercials or music videos and stuff like that. So they trained us like primarily for those things. And they would bring in like choreographers from LA and Atlanta to come train us. And that's where I was really getting my like intense like training, and where I would really learn what the different styles of dance were like, and just I really got into hip hop dancing
Hmm.
specifically. So that's how I really have stayed up to date, is just continuing to train and
Hmm.
just never stop training, because you're always, you're always gonna be learning. There's always something to learn.
With all the dancing you do you like do other like methods of like physical activity, like exercising? Do you do yoga, Pilates, any of that sort of stuff as well?
I do sometimes. Since the pandemic,
Hmm.
I had a gym membership before the
Hmm.
pandemic, but then once, gyms closed
Hmm.
down, I haven't gotten that membership back. But I
Hmm.
do sometimes like to just do like at home
Hmm.
workouts.
Hmm.
So I'll just find like a good workout on YouTube usually and do that here at home.
Oh, great. And then like, do
Yeah.
you mind talking about like some of your experiences where I know you've done some touring, I guess, with different troops or like concerts, or do you mind talking about that, like different parts of the country that you've gone to for that?
Yeah. So for one of the bigger trips that I did for dance was in the Virgin Islands. And that was a really cool trip. We were dancing for an artist at the time. Um, his name was Braden Taylor, but so his dad was kind of his manager, and he flew us dancers and Braden and the choreographer all out to the Virgin Islands, and we got to perform for a TV show called Icon of the Islands. So they were filming that at the
Hmm.
time. And so we performed, we had a performance for that show. And then we shot a music video like on one of the beaches there. And so it was a really cool experience. That was like one of my first like big trip to do something with dance.
Hmm.
And that was pretty awesome. And then I got to go to World of Dance in Orlando, Florida, with my dance team at the time that I was training with back home in Charlotte. So we all traveled to Orlando together and got to compete there. So that was another awesome experience for us. And
Great.
then since being out in LA, mostly done a lot of music videos out here, which has been cool. So music videos are just huge. They're
Hmm.
on another
Hmm.
level out here. So it's
Hmm.
really like my first music video out here. I was like, this
Hmm.
is crazy.
Hmm.
I remember there being like a giraffe on set. Like it was an
Hmm.
actual like giraffe. Like it was just, they're always at these big mansions with pools and
Hmm.
crazy LA type of stuff. So
Yeah, I've seen some of the videos on the website. So you work a lot of different types of variety of different artists, in Los Angeles. That's great. And then
yeah.
else and also you also act as well, and then you're also a singer. Do you mind talking a little bit about that as well?
Yeah. I started singing actually when I was in college. I was probably like 19 years old or so. I wasn't even really that into singing before that age. I didn't even really know that I had that gift of singing. I would hum songs and
Mhm.
like sing along to songs here
Mhm.
and there, but I never was like, oh, I want to be a singer, like that type of, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but my mom, she overheard me singing one day in the car, and she's grown up singing in choirs herself, and so has my grandma. So she overheard me singing, and she was like, we really got to get you into voice lessons. And since I was already dancing and acting at that time too, she was like, it'll benefit you to be able to do everything. So she really wanted to get me into those lessons. So I started taking voice lessons when I was living in Charlotte, and I was in college at that time. And I just really like started to fall in love with it. But I was so like unsure of myself still. Like if I was even good, I didn't really have a lot of confidence in myself. And I was so scared to like sing in front of anybody. Because whenever I feel like I'm not like good at something like fully like there yet, I don't like to show anybody until I feel like,
Mhm.
I've grown in that enough. So I was really scared at first, but luckily, like my coaches at the time, my coach at the time, his name was Big Mike. He was in a band called Day 26,
Mhm.
and they were like on an MTV show back in the day. It was like P. Diddy's making the band.
Mhm.
So he was my first voice coach, and he really pushed me like out of my comfort zone and was like, no, you're going to do this. You're going to perform. You're going to sing in front of people. So he really pushed me to do that. And I think my first performance was actually it was a talent convention that I went to. That was actually
Mhm.
for acting, but they wanted to see all, if you had a talent that you wanted to show, you could do that also. So I had a dance that I performed, and I also had a song that I performed. So that was my first time really singing in front of an audience. And I'm glad I did it. Although looking back, I know I've grown so much since then. So, but it was a good experience. I'm glad I took that first leap of faith.
Mhm. And like when you first moved to LA, was there like a network of like choreographers that you kind of like, hung out with just to see like about work? And then also the other choreographers out there like, pretty supportive of each other, or do you feel there's like they could be competitive with each other?
Yeah. So I was, lucky enough to form some relationships with some choreographers prior to going out to LA. Just having them come to our dance studio and train us
Mhm.
quite frequently. So that was really awesome, to build those relationships with them. And one of them really, he became a big mentor for me. His name was Chuck Maldonado. And so I've gotten to be, you know, he was choreographing. I met him at the time. He was choreographing for a boy band in Charlotte, and they needed dancers. So they came to our dance studio, which is, I keep mentioning this dance studio that I trained at. It's called Fusion Force
Okay.
Entertainment Academy. So at Fusion Force, that's where I met Chuck, and Chuck trained us. And he was like, you know what, you guys really want to make this into your career, you need to move out to LA, because that's where, all the jobs are. That's where you're really going to get
Mhm.
the work. So it was nice that I already knew him and some other choreographers, so I felt comfortable once I
Mhm.
got to LA. And I also visited LA before I even moved. So that helped. So I came out here for like a couple weeks one summer, and really I went, I trained a lot. I took a lot of dance classes. I really just felt it out, and you know, figured out if I wanted to move out here.
Mhm. And like, have you like done any choreography for like any like stage stuff? You know, like off
Um
like big productions or like small like independent theater type of productions?
No theater productions, or like big stage things, but except for in college, I did choreograph. In college, I choreographed for like an entire fraternity. They had like they call it their air band performance. So I remember doing that, and that was big because there's so many people in the fraternity that I had to choreograph a bunch of college guys, and that was awesome. But out here, I have gotten to choreograph for just like some independent artists, and I got to put on some choreography for this one Latin artist. I think his name is JV Tunes. That's what he goes by. That was last year before the pandemic, so that was a cool experience to put together some choreography. I got to pick out what dancers. I had some girlfriends of mine that I reached out to see if they would want to dance in the show, and so we all got together and they helped me, and so that was awesome. Got to put together a show for that artist, and we did that at it was like a nightclub we like performed at. So that was cool. There were other artists performing there too.
And do you develop your own unique dances as well?
Yeah, I do. I actually love like just creating a dance in my room, and then I love like creating like just concept videos. So I get whenever I have an idea, I try to get it done as fast as I can, because if I don't, then it just kind of goes to waste and I don't get it done. So once I choreograph it, then I usually like reach out to one of my videographer friends, and I love like going out and just shooting a video with them, and that's always fun.
And then you sort of like maybe like study like a video of it to sort of, and you kind of build upon that. That's that how you kind of work with the different dances that you create?
Yeah. Yeah. And then I also love like collabing with other dancers too.
Yeah.
And choreographing with them. It's always fun to have another like mind of creativity to help out. So it's always fun.
Hello, thanks for listening to the Erratic Dispatches podcast. We'll be back shortly after a brief break. And then when you create your dances, like how many different dancers will be in that particular piece? Like what's the most you've ever worked with at a time?
Well, I've been in pieces that like I haven't choreographed, but that have had like a lot of dancers in them. But I think the most maybe I've done is like probably like, well, with probably like 20, 25 people or so. But yeah, it's really fun. It's a fun experience for sure to work with people, and yeah.
What do you find the most challenging aspects of doing choreography and also dancing?
Probably, challenges. I think sometimes you just hit like mind blocks. Like you can't, you're like, okay, what do I want to put here for like the move? Like, I don't know what move I want to do on this part of the song. So I think what helps me is if I like to like record myself just freestyling to the song at first and like feeling out the movement and see what naturally comes out first. And then I can like look back at that video and be like, oh, I like that part. I don't like that part. Kind of like pick and choose parts that I like and I don't like. And sometimes I'll do that like a couple times. Like I'll then record myself again freestyling it, because maybe I'll do something different the next time. And I kind of do that. And then that way it helps me like kind of fill in the blanks of, okay, well, now what could I put in this part that I don't know what to do here? And yeah, so it's kind of like a mixture of freestyling and then also like, okay, what is really like listening to the music and figuring out like what will read too, like on camera. So making sure that's, those moves are coming to life, like, and they're not just boring or like, I also try to, I think, just thinking outside of the box and not just, trying not to do like the same moves over and over again, or like the cliche moves. Like, yeah, there's a lot of like popular dances out now and trends, but I don't think you always have to go with what's trending.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's big too.
And do you consider yourself like you like to kind of do you like to kind of study the history of dance, like kind of like study dancers from other countries, other centuries, and see of how they evolved, or people incorporating dance from different parts of history and putting it into today?
Yeah, a little bit. I think that was more so in college.
Mm-hmm.
I had
Mm-hmm.
classes, studying that type of
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and that was always interesting to me, especially like with ballet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I took ballet in college, there was so much that I was learning, like just learning the language because it's all in like French,
Mm-hmm.
and just learning what all those terms mean. I had never like learned ballet on that type of scale, so that
Mm-hmm.
was like always interesting to me. And then just taking like African dance classes too, that was always so fun. And taking like old like jazz, like true like jazz classes, and
Mm-hmm.
learning kind of the history behind that was always very interesting to me.
And I guess at some point you want do you want to open up your own sort of dance like school or studio?
I'm not opposed to that
Mm-hmm.
idea. A couple people have asked me, that same question. Yeah, it's really I'm open to ideas like that. So I guess I'll just see what the future holds, and you
Mm-hmm.
never know. So possibly.
And like with your when you get inspired when you're like creating a new dance, do ideas just kind of pop out at unusual times? If you're walking down the street and something will just pop into your head, or like do you ever have dreams that are like dance oriented? You sort of remember to say, "Oh, maybe I'll incorporate that."
So some of my favorite times to like uh think of like dance moves and stuff is if I'm like on an airplane or just like in
Mm-hmm.
the car, and either I'm driving or someone else is driving, and we're listening to music, and that's when like sometimes dances or
Mm-hmm.
dance moves will just pop into my mind, and I'll be like, ooh, I really need to do something with this song. So that's always fun.
And then like with your dancing and acting, I mean, like long term, do you like want to incorporate all three of those things? Like you'll be like, designing the dance and then like incorporating maybe singing and I don't know, maybe doing something with a film project or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently like actually working on well, I didn't write it, but my friend, she wrote a short film, and she is having me literally dance,
Mm-hmm.
act, and sing in it. And that is like my favorite. Like when I'm able to use all my gifts, and that, I'm so happy. Like that's always a joy for me. So I would love to do something in the future where, being in a film where
Mm-hmm.
I can do all of those things. I think that would be amazing.
And do you mind talking about like, is there any like projects you're currently working on or anything coming up in the new year that you're excited about working on?
Yeah. Like I said, this project coming up, it's
Mm-hmm.
a Christmas
Mm-hmm.
short film. So we're filming that this weekend. We're trying to
Right.
get that out in time for
Mm-hmm.
Christmas. So that'll be
Mm-hmm.
awesome. And then I really just want to continue writing more music
Mm-hmm.
too. So I've been, this throughout this year, I've been working with a producer, um, and he's become a good friend of mine, and we've been writing some songs together and coming up with music. So I really would love to just finally like release music because I never have
Mm-hmm.
done that before. So I'm excited to just continue writing and creating my own music and hopefully release something.
Great.
And then,
And
yeah.
do you play instruments as well?
I grew up playing some piano, but
Mm-hmm.
I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely need to get back into that because it's been a
Mm-hmm.
while. So, and I would
Mm-hmm.
also love to learn guitar. So currently I
Yeah.
don't, I just sing right now, but
Mm-hmm. And do you ever
yeah.
like back any bands, like local bands in Los Angeles? or like different
Yeah.
performances?
Yeah. So I have I got the opportunity to start singing with a cover band
Hmm.
just this past year, and that was just a friend of my cousin. They heard me singing at her birthday party, and they were like, would you ever want to sing with us?
Hmm.
We're a part of cover. We have our own cover band, and we would love to have like a female singer come in and sing a couple songs. And so basically, I started rehearsing with them, and we had like a good amount of gigs this past year. Just they're out of like Huntington Beach area,
Orange
so
County.
yeah, so Orange
Hmm.
County, yeah. So we
Hmm.
would have most of our performances out there.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I got to have my friends come out and watch, and it was really fun. And I get to sing like old stuff, like 70s stuff, but also
Hmm.
and then also like new.
Oh, that's
Uh,
great.
it's a good mix, and it's really
Hmm.
fun. And the crowds are always hilarious. They're
Hmm.
awesome out there.
And do you, like with your acting, do you go to a lot of auditions in LA, like for like films or television projects?
So with acting, right now I've just been focusing more on taking acting classes, and
Hmm.
like I got new headshots recently. So with dance and singing being so like kind of my main two things, acting sometimes gets pushed to the side,
Hmm.
but I want it to be, just as much. And
Hmm.
that's why I feel so thankful that like I have friends who are writing short films and like thinking of me to be in their short films, because I want to do more of that too. So I plan on just getting my headshots on the casting sites and just start submitting as much as possible on those. And yeah.
That's great. And then like so like I guess in the future, do you like see yourself as sort of like equally dividing like all of your talents, or do you feel like things could always change? You might end up focusing more on something else.
Yeah, that's a good question. I am, I don't know. I almost feel like singing
Hmm.
might
Hmm.
be like the the main thing, but
Hmm.
then if I do, release my own music, I want to be able to dance, when I perform
Yeah.
too. So it all will like work together, but
Hmm.
who knows? Maybe an acting gig will then
Hmm.
like allow me to do those things too. So
Hmm.
I really don't know, but yeah, that's why I just try to like continue to work at each one of them.
Hmm. And like with your dancing, do you like have a preference for doing like performances indoors or outdoors, or just are you pretty flexible about the environment?
Hmm. With the performances,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm always flexible to
Yeah.
whatever environment,
Hmm. What's like the
indoors, outdoors.
hmm what's like the most unusual like area that you did a performance at?
Ooh, probably, well, honestly, the beach, because that's like the
Yeah.
hardest. To dance in the
Hmm.
sand is
Hmm.
no joke. So I remember like even in the Virgin Islands, we had to, for that music video, we were dancing on the beach, and it was a challenge for sure. And then also I had to do a performance in Huntington Beach at like a volleyball tournament. And it seems so random, but like it was honestly so much fun. But and we had like full out choreography that we had to do at this volleyball tournament, like on the sand. So it was insane. And I'm pretty sure we all ended up getting like sick the next week because just of all
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
sand we were breathing
Hmm.
in.
Hmm.
But it was a good challenge and a good workout.
And like when you're dancing, like do you prefer like, I mean, I know this is a weird question, like type of like material? Like do you prefer like I guess the lighter the clothing, the easier it is to be flexible with dancing, or have you ever done any dances with like wearing heavy material?
Yeah, I definitely prefer like the lighter the better.
Hmm.
The like that's why I love like hip hop dancing,
Hmm.
because just give me sweats and a t-shirt and I will
Hmm.
be good to go. Like
Hmm.
I love just being like comfortable. I think that's why like hip hop is so cool because you get to just wear like street clothes
Hmm.
and um but yeah, I definitely prefer like comfort, but also looking, looking your best, looking cute is important too. So
Like on average, like how many like dance classes do you teach like during a week?
well, right now with teaching at the other studio now, and then my own classes, I'd say about um, um, like maybe like seven
Hmm.
to like 7 to 9 classes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. And like, what's like the time range? For dancers, I mean, do you feel like dancers can get like, I don't know, burn out, I guess? Or do you ever get that?
Yeah, for myself.
Yeah. Or just in general, like dancers, like, yeah.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I think it's always good to like, if you are feeling burnt out, like
Hmm.
it's totally normal to like take those breaks
Hmm.
and just like refocus and figure out, go back to your why. Like why are you doing this? Like,
Hmm.
you know, make sure your intention behind it is good and it's not just like you're because you're gonna get burnt out if you're constantly trying to do it for like other people too
Hmm.
and just impressing other people. So, make sure it's with good intent and then take those breaks. Make sure you
Hmm.
rest your body too, because dancing is so physical. So you can get burnt out easily, like just physically, mentally. It can be exhausting. So, um, yeah, I think it's always very healthy to take little breaks.
And you were like meet like, like children, into getting to dance. So they ever come up to you and tell you they've been inspired by you and they ever mentioned that maybe they'd be interested in teaching dance one day?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have had
Mm-hmm.
some kids.
Mm-hmm.
I like to like ask my students too
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like, like just about their dancing and why they like to dance and do they have goals? Like what goals do they have with dance or like what are their favorite styles? And then it's really interesting to see them just open up about that and know like their passions behind it. So I think that's always cool to learn.
And like with our podcast listeners, do you want to share like since you started getting to dance, like any unusual stories you like to share on your journey of becoming a dancer?
Um, yeah, I definitely had some interesting dance jobs, just as far as like maybe with the the artist not having a big
Hmm.
enough budget to
Hmm.
pay the dancers. So I think it's always know like what you're getting yourself into before you really commit to something. Because I used to just say like yes, just because I
Hmm.
really wanted that,
Hmm.
that job or that like even sometimes you do stuff just because you're like, oh, this will look really good, like, on social media maybe.
Hmm.
But, make sure you're dealing with the right kind of people too, and that they're like good people and they're
Hmm.
not gonna, screw you
Hmm.
over or anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, I think I've had like a music video before where that kind of happened and it was really interesting. But we ended up it's a good thing that we stood up for ourselves because we ended up getting the full amount of pay after we really stood our ground, so that was good.
Hello, thanks for listening to the Erratic Dispatches podcast. We'll be back shortly after a brief break. Thanks again for tuning in to this latest episode of the Erratic Dispatches podcast, featuring an interview with Kristen Schalk, actor, choreographer, dancer, and singer. For the Anchor FM profile page on this podcast, I have various links in which you could check out Kristen's official website. You can also check out her various social media accounts. Make sure also to watch her videos on her YouTube channel. And also, there's a link to sign up to take her dance classes. Thanks again for listening, everybody. And there is a contribution button located on my Anchor FM page, as well as my official website for the podcast. So any kind of contribution, donation would be greatly appreciated. And I'll be back soon with a new episode. Take care. Bye bye.